Hey folks, this is Wade at the Shoemakers Academy. Welcome to the workshop. Today we're going to look at an Adidas classic. This is the Stan Smith. So, this blue box really is kind of a little bit of nostalgia for me because many years ago, one of the first running shoes I had were a really cool pair of Adidas. So to see this blue box and have it in the workshop is just kind of interesting and fun. So we're going to look at the Stan Smith. And now we're looking at this because we're gonna cut the shoe up, but I wanted to at least get a look at the outside and do a quality check before we cut it up and look at the inside. So this shoe says vegan, and what's interesting about this shoe is it says made in India, which is the first I've seen of Adidas made in India. So here we go. We've got white Stan Smith with green. So if you're a Michigan State fan, you're probably going to like these. You're not going to like it when I cut them open, but here we are. Let's take a look. So this says, APC 35 inspected TQC. All right, well, inside looks pretty good. Just regular unlogoed tissue paper and then regular corrugated. So we're going to set that box aside. Let's take a look at Stan Smith here. We got a hang tag already, Stan Smith original with the material markings on it. Okay, let's take a look. So, this is a white shoe. So really, the first thing that really we want to look at is it clean, right? Because generally, when a shoe comes out of a factory, if the equipment's not clean, then the shoe's not clean, and no, it's going to be sad for everybody. The other thing we want to see when we're looking at a white shoe, just quickly, is do the whites match each other? Because if you look at the shoelace and the eyelet, right? This is woven cotton. This is painted steel. This says vegan, so this is not leather. This is polyurethane. And then the rubber, so they're all white, and even the channel stitching. So all these, let's look at the footbed and the lining. So all of these things are white. And white sometimes is difficult to match. So sometimes when you look at, white is not always white, right? You really have to look whether it's cool white, and then also you got to take it outside to look at it. So this white actually looks a little bit gray, which, okay, it is what it is. When you take it outside, this is under a LED light here in the workshop. If you take it outside, maybe the whites match a little bit. So it's quite useful to, when you're developing a shoe, make sure you take it outside to look at it. So let's just take a look. Generally it's pretty clean. There's a little bit of scuff on the collar there, but the outsole bottom and everything looks clean. So hey, this is Adidas. So, they're coming from a pretty clean factory. But you know what? I look at these two. I noticed that the outsole colors don't look like they're matched. So that's interesting. So, hey guys, maybe take a look at that. Maybe somebody wiped it down with MEK or something, but this, when I look at this and this, they are not actually matching that well. And when you do that exercise and you're looking at it, I'm going to turn it around to make sure that it's just not a trick of the light here in the studio, but yeah, man, okay, that's the inside. Let's look at the outside. Yeah, those rubber. Hey, Adidas. Hey, get on this. These rubber colors don't actually match that well. So, okay, one strike against. All right, so now we're looking at the rest of the shoe, and what we're looking for here is just symmetry, right? Do these parts line up, right? Do these lines line up? Do the eyelets line up? So you hold a shoe and you roll it against each other and you look, this looks pretty symmetrical. Now, the other thing we're going to do is we're going to set the shoes on their sole and just see, I know this is a nice flat surface. Does the shoe sit flat with the correct toe spring? We're looking here and here, and actually we're going to put the toes together and we're going to bend down and look, and they're not okay. Toe spring's not exactly okay. And now I'm gonna look at it this way from the back and get low. And what we want to look for is, when you're looking at the back, is all this stuff straight, right? So do they line up, right, side to side? Okay. Looks like they do. This one's a little bit lower. Now, I'll really be careful about the top line of these too. When we get low and you start to look at it, not exactly. And I want to, put them here and look again and just see, are these lines a perfect 90 up and down? And they're not. This one looks like it's rocking a little bit that way, and this one doesn't quite look centered. It looks like it's a little off. So interesting. Not, hey, granted, hey, this is still looks like a perfectly good pair of shoes, but I'm nitpicking, and I'm doing this on purpose to show you, what perfect looks like and what imperfect looks like. So let's undo some laces here, and let's get a look inside. Okay, the tongue, this is all PU tongue here, and the footbed. Let's just see. It's lightly glued down, but we're going to pull it out. Okay, so here we have just a regular old die-cut footbed it's been tacked down. So you see all these little notches here on the side. This is actually the size mark, because if you notice, there's no size marking printed on the footbed, or this is just die-cut, right? And this top sheet doesn't have a logo or anything, or doesn't have a size mark on it. So this little pattern here tells the factory workers what size this is. Okay, so we'll set that aside. Now we're going to look inside, and we see this shoe is a Strobel, and in that, actually, when the worker is slipping the last into the shoe, they have to make sure that they get it exactly the right clock, right? That 12 noon, right, is exactly 12 noon. In this case, it might not be. It looks like it might be clocked a little bit, and then also to make sure everything's straight. Right, so when you're looking at the upper, is it rotated or is it twisted a little bit? And it looks like it could be a little twisted. Now the other thing we're going to see here is, you see there's a little hole here, and what that hole is, that's just to make sure that there's no air trapping inside. Now this shoe, I can see actually that this midsole, it's actually just egg crate. It's an egg crate rubber, and when we cut this open later, you'll see that it's just a waffle pattern. And when I say waffle pattern, I mean something like this, right? It's a solid rubber bottom, but inside there's this egg crate pattern, and that's what gives you the thickness. So there's a little egg crate there, and they put that hole in there to make sure there's no air gets trapped, so that when you're walking, it doesn't make any like farting noise. And there's a little air trap in the hole in the front. Now also you'll see the channel stitching threads. They just tape them down, right? So they do the best they can to cut them short, but the last thing you want to do is get a pair of scissors in here and damage the inside of the shoe. So they cut them short if they can, and then they just put a little tape to secure them down there. That's, hey, if you wanted to go trim those out yourself, you could. If you found out it was getting on or working its way around the edge of the footbed, you could do that. But looking on the inside of this shoe, it looks pretty wrinkle-free. I mean, this kind of a solid PU lining, tends to show wrinkles and can be a little bit slick sometimes, but this looks pretty good. And when I run my hand down inside the toe cap, actually everything feels really pretty smooth and nice. So the inside of the shoe is pretty trouble-free. So that's one side. We'll put that back in, and now we're gonna look at the other. We're going to look at the other shoe just to make sure. Okay, here we got our tags and all that good stuff with the material call outs. That's all per regulation. You got to do that. Let's see if we can undo this here. And I'm also, looking at the eye stay, how clean this is trimmed, because this is where you've got the lining fabric meets the leather, and if they don't wrap the lining over, they actually have to come back and trim it, because when you line those two parts up, it's a little bit tricky to get it lined up exactly. So they end up having to do a little trim operation, but it looks pretty good here. All right, so let's take a look inside this one. We're looking at the back of the tongue. Okay, a little bit of fuzz on the top edge of the tongue, so maybe a little bit of abrasion there, but everything looks generally pretty clean. So let's peel up the footbed. and just take a look inside. So we see the same thing. You're going to see the air trap. You're going to see the threads taped down there. And, you know, there's another one that kind of got away that wasn't taped. Okay, that's fine. And you'll notice this shoe too. It has a 360-degree stitch groove, but they only stitch the front half. You know, why they do it that way, I don't know. Save time, save money. Actually, I do know why they do it that way, and because this shoe, because the footbed is quite low, right? And if they channel stitch, there's a chance that channel stitching could be above the level of the footbed, right? So you just in the corner here, where you need it to be perfectly smooth, if that channel stitch is above, then it can actually abrade and not be that comfortable. But when I look at the rest of this, or hey, maybe that's just, it's always been that way, who knows? So when I look at the rest of the shoe, yeah, I mean, this really is pretty nice, and the inside is pretty smooth and well put together. And with a shoe like this, it's so simple, right? Really, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 components. Okay, 6 with the tongue, 6 panels, and the finish quality of all these things is pretty important because it's such a simple design, which is why, you know, when we do our DIY, this is a pattern we're going to focus on to help you do that. Now, the complication of this shoe, and we just looked at the Vans a few minutes ago, is the toe cap. And this is where you really need to be careful, right? Because this is so clean and smooth, and any defect in this area is going to be obvious. So when you look down on this thing, what we're looking for is to make sure that this is just nice and smooth. And I've got some shoes here that I'm helping a client with, and the factory is having a hard time getting this line where the toe cap and the outsole meet to be perfectly smooth and uniform. Because if this thing's on the last and you take a hammer, right, to try to flatten it out, you know, to make it smooth, sometimes you'll put a flat spot in there. And when you're doing the lasting operation, it can be even more challenging. Now, this shoe is a Strobel, right? So that means the whole upper is put together, but before they put the Strobel on the bottom, you have to do the heel forming operation. And if you go to our YouTube channel and you look at our shorts, you can see just that heel and toe forming operation, but you have to do that before you put the Strobel on. That's the only way you're going to get a beautifully shaped toe cap like this with a Strobel shoe. So you have to do that operation before you put the Strobel on. So you got to be a little bit careful, because once you do that molding operation, you've got to handle the uppers carefully so that you don't dent or damage this toe cap. So once you get it once you get it formed, then you put the Strobel on, get the last inside, and make sure this is all tight to the last. And carefully, when you're doing the assembly process, make sure that you don't have any flat spots. So again, there's a lot that can go wrong to make a toe cap like this perfectly smooth, but you know, the folks at Adidas here and their contract factory have done a pretty nice job. Now I'm a little, you know, when I look down here, I see a little bit of the lining sticking through, and that's not great, because this is like front center stage when you're looking down on it. If you see a little loose lining like that, so I would work on that. The color match of the outsole, and I don't know if you can see it in the video, but I sure see it here. It's just whether this is a, you know, yeah, not perfect. So I would say, hey guys, I would improve that. But overall, hey man, Adidas makes a good shoe, and unique that this one's actually made in India, which is the first I've seen there. I'll have to do some research and see what Adidas's footprint in India is, but good for them for spreading it around. Whether you make it in China or Indonesia or wherever it is, or Vietnam, you know, as long as you have the right QC people doing it and the right subcontractors. But generally, this is a pretty good pair of shoes. You know, actually, there's another little color match issue here. Now, this is where, like, the tongue face and the tongue keeper, like, these should be the same material, right? So here we are. When I look at it, I see that there's a little color difference there. So again, hey, like I said when we started this video, matching white is a challenge, and keeping a shoe perfectly clean is a challenge. But Adidas has done a fair job here. You know, I give this shoe an A-, perfectly usable, perfectly saleable. Are there things that they can improve? Absolutely, there's things they can improve, but generally it's still a pretty nice shoe. We'll be chopping it up in a little while, and you'll see another video on that. Thanks a lot, folks. Thanks for watching. Hey, if you appreciate this video, please like and subscribe. And I'm Wade from Shoemakers Academy. If you want to learn more about how shoes are put together, how they're manufactured, how to control the quality, or anything about the shoe business, please swing on over to Shoemakers Academy. We've got tons of great books, tons of courses, and if you're into DIY stuff, we've got DIY materials there too. So thanks a lot. I appreciate your time. Have a good one.